Dumba Jumden de Jaba Jumba Yandamba Zobe Zanje Riba Dan Javzu Demba Devara Jeba Jiden Jemba Jebo Deve Galo Jurba Lana Meva Lada Menam Je Dumba Zanje Jumden de Benjava Shaja Doba La Chazelo Chudo Jazo Che Wo Damba Jomden de Shin Shewa Cha Jomba Yanda Ban Zobe Zanje Rigba Da Jazo Demba Dewara Jeba Jiden Jemba Jebo Debe Galo Jorwa Lamna meba lada menam je damba sanje jomden de pejawa shaja toba la chatselo chudo jazo che ho damba jomden de jen shaba cha jomba yanda ban zobe sanje Rigba dan jabzu denban devara sheba jikden chenpa jebu dubu kalu gyorwa lana meba lana me namje denba sanje jomden de Benjawa shaja toba la chaze lo chodo jabsu che ho sanje chodan soje shonama la Changju bado tane jabzo che dagi cheshin jebe sonam je Jola benje zanje jobara sho sanje chodan soje shonam la Janju bado tane jabzo che dagi cheshin jebe sonam je Jola benje sanje jobara sho sanje chodan soje shonam la Janju bado tane jabso che dagi chushe jibe sonam je Jola benje sanje jobara sho Good morning to all of you, and I hope you can hear me loud and clearly. So, I wanted to start with this image. This image was taken this morning, maybe half an hour ago. So we have been talking about generating bodhicitta and the importance of cherishing others. Basically, we are saying that we have to put others before ourselves. We have to work for them. We have to kind to others. So, if one is not trained or not familiar with the Buddhist concept, the newcomers or the majority of the people have difficulty understanding this point. Why? Why should I be kind to them? Why should I put others before me? What do I owe them? What is in for me? Is a very common question. Somehow we have this misconception or something that we have not realized or didn't even give much consideration or much thought, is that we don't owe anything to other people. They haven't done anything for us. We are who we are because of our own effort. Not realizing that actually who we are and what we have become, what we have, all the good things, for example, enjoying listening, enjoying, being able to tune in to today's talk from your cozy home with a cup of coffee in your hand, is all because of others. While we were sleeping in our warm beds, these people are already out in that blizzard, that cold weather, clearing the roads so that we can drive safely or easily. And there are other people who are in readiness to spring into action if their service is needed. For example, if the power goes off due to this severe weather, those who are responsible for restoring the power, they will be out no matter how cold the weather is. And let's say in the middle of this, if the internet goes away, the first thing we do is, no matter what the situation is, we will call the service provider to say that, hey, I don't have internet. Can you please fix it quickly? Can you please restore it quickly? We have no consideration that in this kind of weather it is difficult for them to go out. Whether we have consideration or not, but they will still go out to do their best. So what I'm saying is, it is good to sometimes reflect on the things that we enjoy. How did they come about? In this C-learning, so secular, ethical, emotional, that new course. In that course, there is one chapter to teach people interdependence. So one of the exercises was they will bring like a sweater and then have the students discuss how this sweater come about. How many people were involved in producing one sweater? This is to teach the kids that so many people were involved in making our life more comfortable, easier, and less of a hassle. But we hardly think about that. So this morning when I saw the snowplower moving about, I thought that this would be something that can be used to at least start our contemplation. So this verse that we have been discussing, so I wanted to add a bit more the benefits, because it is so important to see the benefits. We are so driven by this cause and benefit analysis. If there is no benefits, then we are unlikely to engage in that particular endeavor. Whereas if we see there is benefit to us, if we see self-interest in something, we are more likely to pursue that goal. So of course, Buddha have taught that there is a lot of unimaginable benefits for being kind, being compassionate, and especially if we are able to let go of our self-interest. If we are able to put others' priority first. Buddha said that that is the source of all good qualities. But we are quite, thick-headed. We want some kind of a proof or evidence. And the closest or the evidence that we can rely on is through research. So I wanted to share some of the research findings. So first is this one. We have watched this. I'm not going to show this today, play this today, but just wanted to share the findings. So the number one predictor of happiness is the quality of our relationships with other people. It's not the wealth, it's not the fame, it's not the kind of career we have. It is the relationship. This is established by this longitudinal study. So the main finding is good relationships keep us happier and healthier. People who are more socially connected to family, friends, community are happier, healthier, and live longer. So how can we have a good relationship? If we are a very selfish person, always concerned about our own self-interest, we have no consideration for others' interests or others' welfare, such person is hard to establish a good relationship. That person will have very few friends. People like that, even if they start a relationship, it is difficult to last long, because it will not go well. It is not the ingredient to maintain a good relationship. Every time that person's priority or interest comes first, that person has no consideration for the other person. Even in, let's say, marriage, such marriage won't last. At least one needs to have kind of a balanced priority. Of course, as an ordinary person, it is difficult to always put somebody else's interests over one's own interests. But as long as that person is not all the time selfish, then there is still a chance that a relationship can work. So now imagine if we are able to really engage in this exchanging with ourselves, exchanging ourselves with others. If we are able to adopt that kind of attitude, the concern for others, and less importance placed on our self-interest, imagine how would that relationship would go. And we know that all our arguments, our what you call the anyway, those petty arguments, quarrels, all arise from these self-interests. As I mentioned earlier, that if we are to really closely examine any kind of arguments with another person, we will definitely find that it is this self-cherishing attitude, this self-interest, this me-first attitude is the one that has caused that quarrel or that argument. So this is what research is saying. So based on this research, if we want to have a successful, let's say if we want to have a happy life, healthy life, long life, then we need to have a good relationship. Doesn't mean that you have to have a spouse or a wife or a husband, but generally maintaining a good relationship. That is only possible when we are not so obsessed with our self-interest. That is only possible when we are not so selfish, always thinking of what's in me. How can I benefit from this? Kind of ignoring the other person's concern and interests. So that's one finding. And then there is this meta-analysis. I don't know whether you can read. So this is, I think it's quite recent. I thought this is 2025. Anyway, they have examined so meta-analysis is where they looked at various research on compassion, and then they will see what was the overall finding. So here it is interesting to say that this relationship was, the results revealed a moderate, statistically significant positive association suggesting that compassion for others contributes meaningfully to overall well-being. So having compassion for others, of course, there is another aspect of compassion, which is a modern kind of a concept called self-compassion. Self-compassion, definitely there is a strong positive effect on one's well-being. But here we are talking about compassion for others. So if you are the one who feels that having compassion for others is really a waste of my time and loss in the pursuit, LOSS, loss, there's no gain for me. So these research suggests otherwise. It says there is a significant positive association, suggesting that compassion for others contributes meaningfully to overall well-being. So giving to others even increase well-being above and beyond what we experience when we spend money on ourselves. So they have done this experiment. So participants who had spent money on others felt significantly happier than those who had spent money on themselves. That's what research is saying. So if one is generous, if one engages in kind of a practice of generosity or charity, so the research shows that they tend to be happier compared to when one spends money on oneself. They have also done brain imaging. And the brain, so when there is this part of brain that kind of lights up, that is active when we experience pleasure. So when they examine those people who engage in charity, they found that when we experience pleasure are equally active when we observe someone giving money to charity as when we receive money ourselves. So being generous, being able to engage in charity also comes from having kind of a kind-hearted, having compassion for others. That also suggests that one has kind of concern for others. So the more or stronger one's concern for others, one is more likely to engage in more compassionate acts and thereby increasing our happiness level. So this all suggests that if our fundamental aspiration is to avoid suffering and to gain happiness, then these are the activities that we should be engaging. And then there is another interesting research. Human cells respond to different kinds of happiness. So we have something called cellular inflammation. So this normally appears in diseases. At the root of cancer is if you have a cancer, so you will see that there is this something called cellular inflammation. And obviously it is associated with other kinds of diseases. So people normally, generally, people who have a lot of stress, they tend to have higher number of these cellular inflammations. So it's high in people who live under a lot of stress. So that means the assumption or the expectation is that inflammation would be lower for people with higher levels of happiness. Because if you have high levels of happiness, you will automatically have lesser level of stress. So that is the expectation. The general assumption is that people with higher levels of happiness will have less of that inflammation, the lower level of cellular inflammation. But in the research they have done, they found that it was only the case for certain very happy people. It is not found in all kinds of happiness. A particular, very specific kind of happiness helps to reduce that cellular inflammation. People who were happy because they lived a life of pleasure. So cellular inflammation is found in high numbers, high levels in those who are happy. They are happy people, but the type of happiness is different. It's kind of what we call hedonic. So really like a sensorial pleasure. The happiness derived from engaging in sensorial pleasures. Those people, instead of their inflammation being reduced, is quite high. However, this cellular inflammation is low in people who lived a life of purpose or meaning. So we have two types of happiness, hedonic and eudaimonia. So eudaimonia is not derived from sensorial pleasures. It's more of a mental pleasure where you live a purpose or meaning. So the reason why that is the case is that a life of meaning and purpose is one focused less on satisfying oneself and more on others. So this is the key. So the kind of happiness, the eudaimonic happiness that can lower the cellular inflammation comes from focusing less on ourselves, more on others. That's why people find meaningful, because it's not focused on oneself. It is it is more than oneself. So it is a life rich in compassion and altruism. So a life rich in compassion and altruism has to come from having less self-cherishing attitude. Has to come from having greater other cherishing attitude. So I hope I'm making able to join the points, link the points. So if one is able to engage in more of other cherishing attitude, then these eudaimonia happiness have a greater chance. Our happiness becoming a eudaimonic, and thereby it can have effect on cellular inflammations. So I thought that's interesting. I don't know whether I have more So also there are other studies showing that compassion, so this is all based on compassion. So compassion buffers against stress. Stress was linked to a higher chance of dying, but not among those who helped others. So if you are the one who helps others on regular basis, so there is less likely that the negative effect of stress will have effect on you. And also interesting research is that people who engage in volunteering at other people for whatever, lived longer than their non-volunteering peers. So the main point, so they made the conclusion that why compassion has that kind of effect is that compassion helps to broaden our perspective beyond ourselves. So of course, when we have compassion, we are thinking about others. We are no longer obsessed on ourselves. So depression and anxiety is all stems from really focusing on oneself. Remember, we have this three statements. What was that one now? I don't remember that well. It's like something like, I am no good, the others hate me, the world hates me. It's all about negative projection of yourself. But basically you are solely focused on yourself. Anxiety also same. Something will happen to me, this will do to me, all that fear is all focused on self. She says, research shows that depression and anxiety are linked to a state of self-focus, a preoccupation with me, myself, and I. Self-focus shifts to a state of other focus. So when we are able to generate compassion, that self-focus is no longer focus. Our focus is no longer directed on the self. It is now directed at others. So that's the difference. So there you have. Even if we are not willing to accept what the text or the Shantideva says about the benefits, we can at least look at the research findings, because we tend to rely or more convinced with empirical findings. So that is your empirical finding, that generating compassion can have all these benefits. And if we want to have a greater compassion, then we have to engage or cultivate this cherishing for others. So this is the final So therefore, in order to pacify all the false and sufferings of self as well as others. So in order to prevent all that, so I now give away this self previously held as mine to others, and from this moment on, I shall no longer cherish or cling to it. I shall give myself to others and cherish them as I do my very self. So now we are swapping this attitude. So here we have to understand that when we refer to exchanging oneself with others, we are swapping this attitude, not a physical body. There's no way we can swap physical body physically, but it's the attitude. Until now, our attitude is to care for ourselves alone. When it comes to others, we kind of disregard. We kind of ignore. We show indifference. So Shantideva was saying that is the cause of all sufferings. So if we want to prevent all these sufferings and harms, we have to do the opposite of what we have been doing. So it's not easy. So that's why I think we talked about this. When Buddha achieved enlightenment, Buddha refused to teach. Because what Buddha have realized is really completely opposite of what people, the sentient beings, behave or believe. So it would be a very revolutionary kind of a drastic change that people have to make. So Buddha was like, of course Buddha would know, but it's like, it's very, very, very difficult. Buddha has to change the whole way of thinking. And another reason is that when we define what is Dharma, in Lojong teachings, it says that when one's action conforms the norm or the ordinary people, it says then it is not Dharma. When our behavior or actions kind of diverse from the ordinary norms, then that is Dharma. So that's why some of the great practitioners, if we look from an ordinary lens, it will appear as their behavior is kind of a eccentric and also kind of abnormal, because that's what Dharma is. Like this one, putting others before self, cherishing others. So that's completely opposite of what we believe. We believe that we must put our interests first, otherwise we will lose. There's nothing to gain from prioritizing others' interests first. So that's kind of so when you say we have to exchange that, that's kind of a radical change. It's not easy. But now we know that even the research is suggesting that cherishing others, working for others' interests, has real benefit to our overall well-being. So now how should we go about? 137. Tani shenki wangyurchi yi kyo nyebar she gila simjin kunde ma dobar tani kyo ji sheme sams. So now that we have pledged, or we have now decided to engage in this exchange, exchanging oneself with others. So now, what should we do from here onwards? So it says, now, so we are making this pledge. I'm under the control of others. So it's more like from now on that we have given ourselves to others. So we are no longer our boss. We have no control over ourselves. Understand that henceforth I am, or we belongs, I belong to others. Therefore, think of nothing other than working for the benefit of all those sentient beings to whom we have been given. So now you are kind of submitting that we are taking a vow that since we have now engaged in this exchanging of oneself with others, so our priority is only working for others. I am under the control of others. Of this mind you must be certain now, except for benefiting every creature, every other living beings, other sentient beings. You must not think of anything else. So we are committing to the service of others. We are committing ourselves, prioritizing others' interests above us, over us, our interests. Because we have earlier said that the sentient beings who are formerly regarded as others, from now on, I will regard as my very self. I will cherish them and offer them every form of care, respect, and service. With this resolved, I make a firm pledge to myself. So that's the pledge we made. And now we have to walk the talk. So now this is more like do's and don'ts. So here this is the don'ts. Now that we have exchanged ourselves. So from here on, we have to kind of imagine that you have taken the role of others now. So others are taking your roles. So we are kind of, roles have changed, identity kind of change. You know, when we do counseling, they have this empty chair. So sometimes, you take the role of the other person, and then you talk to that person. And then you switch, and then you take the role of yourself. So you have this conversation to and fro with that empty chair. So this is like we are taking a stance now. So we are no longer the old, in commentaries they use old self and new self. So we are now new self. We have now exchanged, and we are now taking the role of other sentient beings. So from here is like what we cannot do. So these are don'ts. Shenwan migla soba yi rangdun drupa rigma yin. Tedun migla soba yi tela lobar chamiriks. For my own sake, I should not do anything with these eyes and so forth that I have left at the disposal of others. So now, even the eyes and the faculties, all these no longer belong to you. You have already offered to others. So because of that, you cannot use this for your self-interest. With these eyes and so forth that I have left at the others, I should not do anything that is benefiting me. It is quite incorrect to do anything with them. Not only I should engage in benefiting myself using these faculties that are now owned by others, I cannot even cause or inflict harms to others. Shenwan migla soba yi rangdun drupa rigma yins. Tedun migla soba yi tela lokbar chame riks. So using these, let's say your hands, you cannot punch anybody, you cannot punch others, because when you use this hand to punch, you are using the hand that belongs to others. So you cannot even use your eyes to show disdain or anger or anything. You cannot use your mouth to talk negative about others, because these no longer belongs to you. So now what do's? This is like a do. So we have talked about don'ts. So we shouldn't do this. So now what we should do is like tena simjen sor chate taagi lula chi tongwa tedan teni tone kyang shenda lani pembar chös. Thus, sentient beings should be my main concern. Since we have committed ourselves to work for the benefit of others, so our main priority, main concern is for others' welfare. So your own concern, your own welfare is secondary now. Whatever I behold upon my body, I should rob and use for the benefit of others. So rob is like when you have this intention or this thought arises to any what do you call gains to to possess or to get anything for yourself. It could be material gains, it could be fame, it could be qualities, whatever thought to benefiting yourself comes to mind, instantly one should kind of rob that thought and then instead give it to others. Try to facilitate others with all these things. Is it doable? I should rob and use the benefit of others. So this seems challenging, but it's not impossible, obviously. Then once one is able to engage in this, I think there is so much joy, kind of elation all the time that one is able to do that. And coming back to, I think that in the class, the question was raised, remember? So when other person is very selfish, there is no sense of concern for others, should we encourage them by not saying, by keeping quiet? Isn't it engaging in self-cherishing attitude? So there is, I think that it is yes and no. So it all depends on the intention. First of all, of course, we have to help others. If we believe that the other person is engaging in wrong actions that can result in great consequences, negative consequences in the future, of course we should correct them. But of course we have to be skillful. But sometimes we saw the person is engaging in something wrongful action. Like we realize that person is being so selfish, and that is not good for that person. But sometimes we raise it, sometimes we don't raise it. So I think it depends on that intention. If we raise it with the intention that, let me first put it this way. So we have, I think as a parenting, you have more experience. So you have to discipline your kids. And there are ways you can discipline. Sometimes just talking to them works. Sometimes you have to take harsher measures. So in our case, I told you that the whip comes out. And as a parent, I think sometimes one parent, the parents have to play this role, the good cop and bad cop. So either the mother or the father has to play the role of bad cop. Remember when police or detectives or agents interview any suspects, so there's always this good cop and bad cop. One comes in, is very harsh, threatens and all this. The other one comes and portray a very soft character. So likewise, when parenting, we also do that. And sometimes the father takes the role of bad cop. And sometimes parents fight over it. Why do you always get to be the good cop? Why do I have to be the bad cop? You see, when you look at this, why you are worried about playing the role of bad cop is because that you are afraid that that person, that child, will develop hatred towards you and perceive you as unkind, not a good parent, not a good mother or father. You always want to be well-liked. So when we see somebody engaging in wrongful actions, so we have to see what is our intention. We keep quiet because that person will dislike you, hate you, and you will lose your friendship over it. Then there is a self-interest there. Self-cherishing attitude is there. You are no longer concerned about the other person, even though you think that there is. But your keeping quiet is driven by this self-cherishing attitude. Whereas knowingly that I know that my talking to him and correcting his way, he may become my enemy, he may hate me for the rest of my life, but this is really for the benefit of him. If he continues down this path, he will end up experiencing grave consequences. So therefore, no matter what happens to me, I will still go ahead and correct him. So that's really putting others before self. You have now placed the other person's welfare or interest above yourself. So we should correct other person, but we also have to check our motivation. And if our motivation to correct him is to, if I correct that person, if I show him this is the right way, then he will become fond of me and he will be indebted in me for the rest of life. If that is the intention, then there is self-cherishing attitude. Even though you feel that you are preventing this person's increasing self-cherishing attitude, but you yourself is driven by that self-cherishing attitude. I don't know whether it makes any sense. So thus sentient beings should be my main concern. Whatever I behold upon my body, I should rob and use for the benefit of others. And now we come to this interesting topic. So this is where we do this. Where is the menso tatu cheba tang shenyi tuni ta chene namdo mebe semjisu tado tenda ngage goms. Tado tenda ngage goms. So this is where we imaginatively adopts the perspective of different beings. So when prior to engaging in this exchanging oneself with others, so let's use this term, it's easier to understand. So your old self is when we have not engaged in this exchange. And then we have new self. New self is now that we have exchange. So we are now taking the position. So we are kind of imagining that we are others. And that selfish person that we have been is the on the other side. So when we, prior to engaging in this exchange, when we are our old self, we have these faults, 3 faults. So when we see someone who is superior, or let's say when we perceive someone as our superior, the tendency is to develop jealousy. Whereas when the other person, we perceive it as our equal, there is this tendency of developing a competitiveness. And then, of course, when someone we perceive as inferior, we have this denigrating attitude. We kind of look down on that person. So this is to counter that as an antidote to this. So in order to do that, Shantideva provides this kind of unique method whereby we imaginatively adopt the perspective of the different beings, those inferior, equal, and superior, and then generates the corresponding mental attitude. So we are now generating these 3 attitudes: the jealousy, competitiveness, and then what is that one? The pride. So I am more of an arrogance. So in the West, pride is not what is called what's that? Unequivocally, is it? Bad. But in Buddhist texts, pride is not a positive emotion. Pride equals arrogance. So we generate this corresponding mental attitudes. But we are taking the sight, we are adopting this imaginative perspective. So we are now others, and then on the, in the place of others, we have this ourselves. So it's a bit confusing. So with this, that's what we do. Menso tadu chebatangs, considering lesser beings and so forth as myself. And then considering myself as the others. In the following way, which is, I should meditate. Later we will come to that. I should meditate upon envy, competition, and self-importance. Here is self-importance, is pride. With a mind free of distorted concepts. So here distorted concept is more like having no doubt. So now you are others, others are you. So there's no doubt. With convincing mind, then you go about doing the actual generating these 3 attitudes. So now we are looking. So you must remember that you are taking a different perspective, or is a different stand, or you are taking the role of others. Now you have gone through. You are the new self. So you now as others, and then looking at your old self as the other person. So you are now looking at him and seeing all this. He is honored, but I'm not. So here I'm not is that other. You are now taking the role of others. I have not found wealth such as his. So here you are trying to generate that jealousy. He is praised, but I'm despised. He is happy, but I'm suffering. I suffer. While he remains comfortably at rest, I have to work so hard. He is renowned as great in this world, but as I am inferior, with no good qualities at all. So the first part is you exchange yourself with the inferior ones and then generate kind of a envy or jealousy. Dini kurche tani min, dishin taki manye jing, dini toche tala mu, dide tani tungye las, tani lenam chebadang, dini tewa nidu ne. Dini jigde la chetang. So this is now you are generating envy upon seeing the other person's greater qualities. Dini jigden la chetang, tamen yunden mebar cha. Yunden mebe chishik cha, tagun yunden tenpa ni, kanwe dimen te yu jing, kanwe tacho te yang yus. So this is now mentioned before that. So you are looking at the qualities of that person. He is renowned as great in this world, but I as inferior, with no good qualities at all. So imagine that other person that is looking down on us. Now you are together with others. So the one who is doing is actually your old self. So he is renowned as great in this world, but I as inferior. And that's how he looked down on us, with no good qualities at all. But then he said, but what do you mean I have no good qualities? There is no person in the world who has no quality at all. Everybody has a quality. I have all the good qualities. Compared to many, he is inferior, and compared to many, I am high. So these qualities, the great or whatever it is all relevant. It is based on what you call relativity. Is it relativity? So compared to this, compared to those who are inferior, of course, that person appears to be great. But there are other greater ones. So compared to them, he is inferior. Compared to many, he is inferior. And compared to many, since there are many people who have less qualities than me, so compared to that, in relation to that, I am high. The deteriorated state of my morals and views is not due to me, but due to my disturbing conceptions. In whatever way he is able, he should heal me. Willingly, I shall accept my discomfort involved. Tsutim tawa kuso nis. Nyomo topgi tawa means So if the others say that, oh, you are not great, you are not high because you have deteriorated state of morals. So there's this kind of debate. It says that it is not due to me. It's not my fault. It is the afflictions within me that has deteriorated my morality. In whatever way he is able, he should heal me. So if you claim to be a great and all have that qualities, then instead of belittling me, you should be helping me to heal me. But then he said, oh, it's not easy. It requires so much endurance. He said, willingly I shall accept any discomfort. I'm willing to endure any hardship. Willingly I shall accept any discomfort involved. But I'm not being healed by him. When the thadi soja means, chichir thala nyeba che. Thala tiyi yundengi chijan dida yundenches. But I'm not being healed by him. But the debate argument is that you are not beneath my healing. So you're not worthy of healing. So, but I'm not being healed by him. So why does he belittle me? So, for example, if there is a great doctor who is renowned for his healing skills, and if he is so renowned for healing, and if he doesn't heal me and instead belittle me, then what is the use of his skills? So likewise, he is saying that you claim to be so great, but you are not helping me, you are not healing me. Instead, even if you are not trying to heal me, you should not engage in belittling me, condemning me. What use are his good qualities to me? So what is the point of having all these qualities? Although he has good qualities, he does not benefit. Chichir thala nyemeche, thala ti yundenji chicha dida yundenchens. So there's no use for that quality. Nyandro dugbe karneba, dola nyingje mebandi, chila yunden lombai kebatala towardos. So with no compassion for the beings who dwell in the poisonous mouth of evil realms, externally he is proud of his good qualities and wishes to put down the wise. So he said that when earlier he says that, oh, he doesn't help me. He said, oh, he still has compassion. So he says that what is the use of that compassion? With no compassion for the beings who dwell in the poisonous. So we are like at the edge of that cliff, that any moment we will be falling down into that abyss of three lower realms. But you are not willing to help us. But externally, you claim to have these good qualities. You claim to have compassion. But instead of helping us or saving us, you just wish to put us down, look down on us. So what is the whole point? So this, you can see that kind of looking in the mirror to see that you claim to have these the basis for your feeling superior and belittling and looking down on others, having this pride, is because you claim or believe to have these qualities. In one breath, you are saying that you have these qualities, you have compassion, you have so many, you are much far better from you, but in that very breath, that person is looking down, putting the other person down, kind of condemning their not having any qualities. So to show this, so this is in application when there are occasions or instances where you feel so kind of arrogant or pride, and you see somebody inferior and you kind of started to look down on other person. That's when you exchange that. You put yourself, you kind of exchange that person with that person. So you take the role of whoever you feels inferior, take role of that person, and then the other person, you take the other person's role, and then go through these lines, and you will come to the conclusion that why am I looking down that way if I claim to be so great with all these qualities? These qualities that I claim and the way I treat other person does not match. For example, if you think that you have so much compassion, then why are you looking down on that person? So this is how this is applied. So we have already passed our time. So let's stop here today. Tagi chini sawe jewa de tendan dowa kunla kangben dan jewara jizun lozan tawa ye tembe nyingbu ringdu seje sho jambe bawe jedara jemba dan gundu sangbo teyan dejen de teta kunge jesu taloch jewa de da damje rabdo ngo dezon jebe jewa damje je ngowa kangla chodo ngawa Dagi jeve zawan dengun jan sambo chuji rabdo ngobarajis. Thank you. And before we end this, I wanted to make an announcement. So from next class until further notice, when we have in-person class, I'm not going to live stream, because there's so much distraction. So first we have this meditation session, and then we have that break. So there is, first of all, it becomes too long, and then there are these noises. So what I'm going to do is I will record the session, and then I will clean, just remove all these gaps, and then compile, and then upload on the website, so that those who needs to listen online can get to listen to the actual talk rather than all these other bits. So that's going forward. I hope we can meet in person for the next class. Thank you all, and you have a good rest of the weekend. Thank you.